Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the latest in this series of NR Times roundtable discussions. And this morning, we're focusing on the role of the case manager and how the role of the case manager allows individuals and organisations to achieve their ambitions. We've got a fabulous group of panellists with us this morning. And rather than me introduce them, I'm going to ask each of our panellists to say a few words about themselves, about their organisations, and about their areas of specific interest to get this discussion rolling. So if I could come to Keir firstly. Keir, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Alistair, thanks for inviting us to this webinar. My name is Keir Kotecha. I am the founder of Transcend Rehabilitation. We're an immediate needs assessment and rehab case management provider within the UK personal injury market. And yeah, our preference, kind of our specialism is supporting, completing INAs and providing case management solutions to people who've sustained mainly multi-orthopedic injuries, amputation injuries, psychological injuries, and we also support those who sustain kind of mild to moderate brain injuries in conjunction with those aforementioned injuries.
Great, thanks very much, Keir. And if we could come to you next, Martin.
Let's go.
Yes, hi, good morning. My name is Martin Gascoigne. I am the CEO and owner of Neuro Case Management. We launched almost 15 years ago, so we've been around for a while now. We specialise in brain and spinal injuries per se, really, which is our core work and core values. Originating from sort of Sheffield area, which is just about 5 or 6 miles from Irwin Mitchell's head office, which doesn't hurt. And then moving through the UK, which we now undertake referrals from all around the UK, apart from Scotland, where the law is different. So that's us.
Great, thanks very much, Martin. And then if I could come to Marie-Claire and Siobhan from MCS Case Management.
Thank you very much, Alistair, for inviting us here today. We're absolutely very happy to share a little bit about our company. We're based in Dublin and Cork in Ireland, and we're in operation 7 years now. There are several case managers in the business, and we cater for families that have a loved one with a child, maybe with cerebral palsy, somebody with a spinal injury, or somebody with an acquired brain injury. We're there to support them on their journey, and we are spreading the good news about the benefits of case management in Ireland. Marie-Claire?
Hi everybody, thanks for having us today. So as you can well guess that we're from Ireland, so we're spreading the word over here about case management because it's definitely not the same in Ireland as it is in the UK. It's not as well known, so we're flying the flag over here for case management, and we're the first pioneering company, so it's a very exciting place to be.
Great. I'd quite like to start the discussion, particularly for the benefit of those people that don't have much awareness of case management, by talking about why it's so crucial and why it's so important. But just before we kick off the discussion, Emma's just joined us. And Emma, can I ask you to introduce yourself and say a few words about the work that you do? We seem to be having some technical issues with sound with Emma. Emma, it's showing that you're still on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. That's great. If you could introduce yourself. Good to have you with us.
Great. Apologies. Yes, I'm Emma Way, and I set up Emma Way Associates in 2016, having been a case manager for 10 years. Trained as an occupational therapist and specialised in spinal cord injuries. So that's how my company first began was a specialist area in spinal cord injuries and amputees, and we've since beginning to increase into acquired brain injury, but purely specialising in catastrophic injuries.
Great, thanks very much, Emma. As I was saying there, I'd really like to talk about why case management is so crucial and to really illustrate the enormously positive impact it has. And I'll go round the table again, maybe in the order that we carried out the introductions. Care, could you say a few words, particularly for the benefit of those people that might have a limited awareness and understanding of why case management makes such an important contribution?
Absolutely. I think case management, particularly where it's kind of this system, it sits within the personal injury claim process, which involves multiple parties with differing agendas, usually all working towards a similar purpose, similar outcome. And I guess case managers, case management providers have a challenging role in that we're fundamental to our actions, our activities, and how we support the rehabilitation participant as case management, and how we progress rehabilitation towards individuals' goals and kind of recovery outcomes, also plays a pivotal part in progressing kind of the claims aspects side of things. So our role is crucial in that respect, in that we kind of support the entire process, the entire claim process, the rehab process. Yeah, that's kind of my take on that.
That's really helpful, Care. Martin, is there anything you'd want to add to that to illustrate, the crucial role that case management has?
Well, I always used to see case management as a three-pronged approach. The first being the glue that holds the private therapy team together. The second, to provide the ongoing rehab and support for the family. And the third would be to provide the liaison between those two and the legals. We're sort of in the middle of the triangle.
Great, thanks, Martin.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come to Siobhan and Marie-Claire in a second, but Carol Chandler has just joined us. Carol, would you like to do a quick introduction for those people that are watching? Say a few words about yourself and your organisation.
Sure. Hi. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't have Chrome, so I had to download it. I'm Carol Chandler, and I'm representing CMS UK. I'm one of the directors, previous chair of the case management organisation, CMS Case of UK. I'm also the chair of the IRCM, the Institute of Registered Case Managers.
Great, thanks, Carol. Well, we're just chatting about the crucial role that case management has, and I was going to come to Siobhan and Marie-Claire. You'll have an interesting take on this as you're really flying the flag in Ireland and trying to explain why case management makes such an important contribution. Siobhan and Marie-Claire?
Indeed, because like a family that has a loved one with a catastrophic injury, the day after the High Court case, they wake up with the very same child with the additional needs. So that's where we see our role in stepping in and helping the families and organising a multidisciplinary team and therapists that come into the home, as opposed to the family bringing maybe the child out, because often there are other children at home. So it gives the mother a chance when we organise the outreach therapies. This has proven to be very, very helpful to a lot of our families. We recently had a case where we were 1 year with a client. He was 18 with an acquired brain injury, and the multidisciplinary team came together on a Zoom call last week, and his behaviours have de-escalated significantly, so that the family can see the benefits, that the money is being spent in the appropriate way, that the settlement, all that money. He has a behavioural therapist every week. He has an occupational therapist every week who brings them swimming and brings joy and fun to their lives. And we all sat around the call and we were absolutely delighted with the progress. Mary Claire was involved in the installation of a fabulous sensory room, and he loves heat. So he's now on a heated bed with a waterbed with all the sensory equipment, and he has benefits so greatly. It does cost a lot of money, so we can see the benefits of doing a good cost of care report to bring in that money so the family have it to spend on everything they need. Behavioural therapy, speech and language therapy, his non-verbal, occupational therapy, and the behavioural supports are also extended to his family, his 2 sisters, and the staff that are working with him. So it was a really good day last week when we saw that after a year working with the client. Thank you.
Well, that's a fabulous example of case management in action, isn't it? Emma, anything you'd like to say about that, about, you know, how you would characterise the importance of the role that you and everybody else in the call undertake?
Yeah, I think that demonstrates what an absolutely crucial and key role case management is, both for the individual and their families and the litigation team. For the litigation team, you are literally sort of the voice and the eyes on the ground of what is actually happening, so that they can factor that into their claim process. And for the individual, you are their number one advocate. You know, you need to be providing constant ideas, problem solving, not giving up for them, to help them reach that new, as independent as possible life that they want to live. And that means implementing changes for therapies, transport, accommodation, obviously the care. And I think, as has been said, that's a very intensive role and very costly. I was just thinking of one client where, when I got involved, it was a clinical negligence case. So she dropped off all statutory services provision. They had given up on her. But when I got her reassessed in the system, she started at needing 2 carers 24 hours a day. She was addicted on opiates as well. And it was very intensive work for a couple of years, and setting all those things up, gaining that trust. And after a few years, having a therapy every day, the care has been reduced to flexible provision for about 3 to 5 hours a day. You know, her meals come in ready made, so that, you know, she doesn't need so much care at meal times. And that flexible approach has really made a massive difference.
Thanks, Emma. That's another great example of the impact that the work that you do has. Carol, would you like to say something on a similar sort of note about the work that you do?
Yeah, I'm a massive supporter of case management, but I wanted to clarify something here. Case management isn't just personal injury. I think in this country, we only seem to associate case management with personal injury and vast amounts of money. Case management is a process, and it works very well in our litigation. When I say it works very well, for all the reasons that Emma and Siobhan have said, because it allows people who've gone through, you know, tremendously traumatic events to have an advocate, and that's the whole role of a case manager, to be an advocate and allow people to make an informed decision. But case management isn't always on the catastrophic stuff. It can be in travel insurance, it can be in mental health, it can be in private health. It can be at a government level, because I mentioned that because I've worked in all those areas. So I think we need to be, if we're talking about case management, then I think we need to be very clear. Case management doesn't naturally automatically associate with litigation. So I think I just wanted to make that point. And what Emma said about how, yes, particularly children with clin neg seem to fall out of the system. And it's very easy for case managers with large amounts of interim payments to take them out of the system. And I fully recognize that things like neuro rehab and that, you're not going to get that in the community, or not the level that you need. But in order to get into specialist educational schools, you need to be in the system to have an EHCP. And I think that if people don't understand that, that can be very detrimental to the child. So I think when case managers, it's all about working within scope of practice. They need to understand the area that they're being asked to work in. And if they're not able to work in that area, that's case management, CMS UK Standard 101. I'm sure Babacom have the same. And that's about referring, recognizing this is outside my scope of practice. And ideally, hopefully you know enough in the industry that you can refer to the appropriate person. And if you can't, then you put your hands up and say, I'm really sorry. And hopefully signpost them to at least some areas that they can get further information. Because a tremendous amount of damage can be done. You have, particularly with children, where you have families that, and again with Clinic, they go in expecting a perfectly healthy child and then have this catastrophic event that's, again, through no fault of their own. And they get discharged. Now the NHS are now doing an early notification scheme, which is really helpful. So they will admit liability very early on. But other than that, you've got these parents that go home in shock, gradually picking up all the pieces. And then someone swans in and promises them the world. And they relinquish responsibility for all the stuff that they've carried out, all the nights that they stayed up and all the care that they put in. And then it all falls apart because the person who said that they can do it does not have the skills to do it. And then consequently, these families are damaged all over again. Sorry, I know that sounds really dramatic, but that's exactly what happens.
Thanks, Carol. That's really helpful. I'd like to move the discussion on to talking about where the barriers are to the work that you do and the impact that it has. And alongside that, where the opportunities are for things to be done a little bit differently that would allow the work that you do to have even greater impact. So barriers and opportunities. I don't know if you'd like to kick off with that, Carol, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Sure. Well, opportunities, we are, and I guess this gives me a chance to give a plug for the Institute of Registered Case Managers about having case managers registered. You know, we wouldn't dream of going to a lawyer that wasn't qualified or an OT that wasn't registered. And case management's an evolving profession, and we're getting to the stage now where we should be registered. So that protects the public, gives a level of autonomy that when we look at what a case manager should be doing, a baseline. The membership organizations have done a fabulous job up until now, but we are getting more and more people into case management, and anybody can put up a hand and say, I'm a case manager, and then go in. I think it's fabulous opportunities for people who have the skills, and they're not necessarily healthcare or social care professionals, but they have the skills to be able to organize and project manage and get into this world of case management to improve people's lives. It's a tremendously rewarding job. There are, as we know, frustrations, lots of times the barriers if you're working within the legal system as people that don't understand the role of a case manager, and they try to abuse it on both sides of the legal team. And I think it takes a robust case manager to recognize that as we go back to that very first piece of case law, which was Wright v. Sullivan, they are there to advocate for the individuals that they are case managing. And that doesn't always make everybody happy.
Thanks, Carol. Would anybody else like to add to that? Barriers and opportunities to the work that you do both now and in the future?
I think that's a great question, Alistair. I think something similar to along the lines of what Carol mentioned. Navigating the systemic constraints is a challenge as a case manager or a case management provider. We're working within confines of healthcare systems, insurance funding, legal frameworks, and I guess that can sometimes put a constraint, restriction, delay in accessing necessary treatments or services for people who've been involved in such traumatic events with serious potentially life-altering injuries, which impacts their rehab, their recovery potential, their timeline of recovery as well, and consequently their motivation and psychological well-being. I think the other big challenge is, as rehab case managers, we can put teams of professionals or individual professionals or teams of professionals in place to support rehab recovery. In that interdisciplinary communication piece, effective rehab requires a seamless collaboration, cohesive communication amongst various healthcare professionals. However, differences in communication styles, priorities, approaches among team members can lead to disjointed care, potentially hindering the injured individual's progress. Overcoming these barriers is a crucial one, and something something I have worked on and developed on a personal level from a case management practice-wise. How do we bring the interdisciplinary team together on the same page, wanting the same thing for the person, working to ensuring that working together in a cohesive manner. I think that leads me on to the potential opportunities in the case management space, and maybe I'm giving my £1 million idea away here, but some form of interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary kind of collaboration platform where could look at developing something along those lines, utilizing a digital platform where it enables more efficient collaboration amongst the diverse professionals involved in case management, which I think would significantly improve outcomes and recovery outcomes for more people. And I think that poor interdisciplinary communication is one of the key factors for poor results, poor recovery outcomes. And I think these types of flat platforms, which probably are out there, I think they can facilitate real-time communication, sharing access to client records, progress reports, integrating care plans, treatment plans, rehab plans, assist with reducing risk, clinical risks, and any other forms of risks, and the risk of fragmented care. I think an interdisciplinary collaborative platform would ensure a more cohesive rehab journey for seriously injured people.
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept, Kerr. I can see people nodding their heads at that. Any of our other panelists like to comment on barriers and opportunities? Emma, Martin, Siobhan, Marie-Claire?
Yeah, I think that case management is just continuing to go through a huge growth period and probably will do for a very long time. And I think that gives us plenty of opportunities, but also areas of concern. You've got the larger corporate companies who can offer good training programs and take a higher number of cases. And then you've got your independent, self-employed case managers who are, can be extremely skilled and good, but need the support to offer all the regulation expectations and quality assurance facilities. And then you've got the clinically led smaller mid-sized teams. So all that's really good opportunities for case managers, but it does make it challenging for the litigation and individuals to find a case manager that will really meet their needs and to truly know what that individual or that company has got to offer.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Siobhan, Marie-Claire, any thoughts?
We've started giving some talks to solicitors groups in Ireland, and it's going down really well about the benefits of case management. We spoke at the Southern Bar to judges, solicitors and barristers recently, and they were really happy to know about the benefits of case management. I think we have a different horizon over here that, we're in infancy. Being a nurse by profession, I think it's a help. 3 of my other case managers are nurses, and one case manager has a background in special education teaching. We think CPD is very important for every member of staff, and we take it very seriously. We're traveling to the UK to the CMS UK conference to network with like-minded individuals. Can't wait. We've also set up an All-Ireland case management network to support each other. So we have it set up with about 8 months now, and we're meeting later on today on Zoom at midday. And we're traveling to the UK as well, and we're meeting there. And you know, that's the way we're networking here, is helping each other as well.
Brilliant. Martin, so before we move on, any thoughts?
Well, being around for 15 years, you tend to sort of develop an overview and insight as to the industry standard. Certainly around COVID, where I am based, Sheffield, there was 4 or 5 case management companies launched. So I'm very much behind and champion the rights and causes of Carol here. Carol setting up the IRCM is really setting up the industry standard for case managers. And it's making case managers accountable for their own practice, their own competences, and their own quality assurance. And I think that's a long time coming and lacking in our industry that's completely unregulated at the moment.
Which I have to say seems remarkable given the enormous complexity of the things that you manage and deal with as professionals.
Yeah.
Can I just sort of raise the subject of access for your clients? Is that an issue? You know, clients been aware of what's available, and regardless of financial circumstance or the communities that they come from, making sure that there is some sort of equality of access for those people that will benefit from case management.
And that's the problem. There isn't. Whoever's got the biggest budget can produce the biggest advert on the top of Google page 1. What Carol's suggesting is to provide the quality assurance governing body where all solicitors go to, and they know that every single case manager on that list is IRCM approved. Just the same way as if you wanted a gas engineer in your house, you would go to a Corgi registered list. You wouldn't just pull a name out of the hat.
Yeah, it's going to be a voluntary register because the government are not keen on further regulatory. So, but that's exactly it. It's set up to protect the public. Yeah. It means that case managers, the plan is they will have a certificate of proficiency that they will all be asked to take, which will give us, if anybody have healthcare or any type of professional background, you'll know that, for example, I'm a nurse. So I took my registration, God knows how many years ago. But that's what I have to revalidate. I just have to do it actually every year. I have to demonstrate my fitness to practice. There will be standards, and it's to do, we are linked up to the PSA, the Professional Standards Association Authority. And our standards, we've been mapping the standards. We have our code of best practice. We've got the standards. We have a panel already of people who are willing to consider any complaints, or part of it's complaints. You'll think, oh God, this is a bit frightening. But it's also about if we see a trend of what the public are coming in with, what they're not happy with, then that also can help. We can feed that back. The membership organizations will be very important in respect to looking at the type of education to get people through the standards. CMS UK for years now have been gearing any of their educational events towards the standards, so that when people have to demonstrate how they've met their learning needs and how they've met those standards, it shouldn't be so onerous, because I think, oh, actually, we did this or we've covered this. So it's been a long time coming, and it's not here yet. We're still getting there. We are registered, and we are now applying. We're asking people to apply to be board members and members of the various different committees that will be required. It's a new profession. If you look back to the Law Society, or you look back to how long nursing's taken, or physio, or whatever, it doesn't happen overnight. It's done by volunteers with one operations manager, and obviously an accountant, etc. But so it's getting there. I think we refer to it as pushing a rock uphill. We are getting engagement, both from case managers, because they recognise, and this was done based on case managers themselves saying, we want to have a professional pathway. We want to have an educational pathway. or competencies. And the industry years ago, I've been around long enough post-Wolf reforms where it used to be a really adversarial situation between both defendants and claimants. And post-Wolf, late 90s, when they brought out the rehab code and then reviewed it, most recently 2015. And that in itself was pioneering, in the sense it was talking about joint instructions or collaborative working. And so if we're asking people to sign up to something, that we've got a baseline. And I think insurers were very, very trusting when case managers first came out, because they naturally assumed they were all coming from a regulatory body. Not unreasonable, because everybody else they work with comes from a regulatory body.
Yeah.
And then they woke up to the fact they didn't. And lots of them, on both sides, on claimant solicitors and insurers, looking at the legal world, took a bath financially. Their clients took a bath emotionally on some of the things that happened to them.
Yeah.
And it's time for things to change.
Agreed. The way forward.
I think that we have to remember that the IRCM is going to be brilliant and will increase our sort of professional standing, but it's a register and it's a baseline of standards. And what I'd like to see more is those competencies that Carol mentioned, the different level of competencies in those particular areas, so that it's much clearer where a case manager's skill really lies and their expertise, and that will benefit the legal team and the client.
And I've seen that even when we're looking at years ago, you just in your INA or whatever, you would say, I need a physio, I need an OT. And people say, okay, fine. Now they don't question when you say, I need an MSK physio and I need a neurophysio, recognizing that there's specialisms within those very disciplines. Mm-hmm. And everybody's saying, well, are we going to have specialist area? Yes, we are, but we need other people to pick that up. Let's get us over the baseline and then look at what the areas are. It should be pediatric, it should be brain injury, it should be MSK. Do you realize that even though we've got MSK guidelines under the NICE guidelines in this country, there is no level 1 MSK? And I'm just about to take a case to the Ombudsman over this, because we're funding private MSK level 1 rehab because there is not a facility in this country to do it.
And can I just say that I've spoken this week to Erwin Mitchells, Thompson's, Slater Gordon, and all three of them said it's about time case management was standardised, and they will only in the future go to this registration that Carol's setting up for a case manager. If you're not registered on there,
that's the way to go. Yeah. That's the way to go. And we recognise that there will be some claimant solicitors and insurers who will have their favourites, and those people may not necessarily take. If they're near the end, they'll say, I can't be asked to do this. Let's face it, we're all busy, or you might feel intimidated by it, and that's not the intention. It is being set up to get people through it, not to fail them.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the profession, the future of case management. Yeah. So we set it up that people who are coming into it now, one of the things we talk about is make sure that you've got that arrangement with your employer, that you're not, if you're doing case manager assistant work and you suddenly think I could be a case manager, then make sure that's clearly documented on your training, that you've got your CPD to validate where you've got, when you've change from being an assistant to taking on your own cases with supervision and the necessary extra supervision that you would require as you're learning any skill, because that all goes towards your number of hours you will need to demonstrate you have. You don't want to wait 4 years down the road and find out I should have been documenting that. That's, you've got to take some responsibility over your professional progress.
Yeah.
Are there, Siobhan, Marie-Claire, is there a parallel movement in Ireland? Or will Carol's organisation...
Not my organisation, it's a group. It's the Institute. I just have to be chairing it now, please. It's not just me. It's the whole group.
They're clarified, Carol. Yeah. Is there a parallel move towards that kind of regulation / standardisation in Ireland, or is it too early for that, Siobhan?
It's very early. That's why we set up the All Ireland Case Management Network. To move forward together and to get advices. Like we would do our CPD with Brain Injury Group and CMS UK and BABCM. But going forward, we're looking at that.
Yeah, and Siobhan and I have worked together years, haven't we, in respect to pooling our case management knowledge. And, you know, we're trying to set the IRCM up for England, and there's no reason why down the road there couldn't be links into other organizations, just like there are with CMS UK. We have it with the US, and we have it with South Africa and Canada. And, you know, it's just about, let's get it right here and then expand it. But we've always had close associations, haven't we, Siobhan, as far as, you know, case management knowledge and sharing.
I'd like to go around the panel now, really, and just ask everybody, you know, we've talked a bit about trends, and clearly, you know, things are moving at a pace in terms of standardization and greater regulation. That seems to be a big priority. Kaiur's talked about the need for that interdisciplinary, you know, coming together so that things are more coherent. I'd like to ask everybody what they regard as, if there was one thing that you think is the overwhelming priority to improve the impact that case management can have for your client base and for all those that benefit from it, what would that priority be? And again, I'll start with you, Kair, if you don't mind, and then work around the panel.
Absolutely. Good question, Alistair. For me, kind of in context of the cohort of people we work with, priority for us is ensuring that we enable a lot of our majority of our clients have the potential to make full functional recoveries. And our priority really is to ensure that those recoveries are sustainable long-term, ensuring that long-term costs associated with long-term healthcare needs, costs associated with long-term care support, and long-term case management support, the necessity for that we're mitigating through and enabling, you know, functional recoveries that are sustainable long term. So that's our biggest priority. That's our mission as an organization, is to enable rapid recoveries where possible, to mitigate potential long-term costs, healthcare costs, care support costs, case management costs. That's kind of the bedrock of our values of what we're trying to attain for our clients and for our stakeholder customers.
Great, thanks, Kair. Martin, you know, your simple message in terms of what you think the big priority is for you and possibly others.
I think the message is standardization and to get the industry to a recognized quality assurance level. I mentioned earlier about the 4 new case managers set up in Sheffield over COVID. One was a nursing home manager, one was a dietitian, one was a speech and language therapist, and one was a previous carer. Now, they've all got skills in their own right, but not one of those have ever done any case management. So, and the solicitor is going to them, as Carol said earlier, thinking that they have various amounts of experience. We, as an organisation, employ about 100 staff. We are very, very hot on supervision, training, PDRs, so that all of our staff, when they go out into the community, represent us and our good name. And that's all the solicitor wants, their good name to be upheld and maintained in the industry so that they can trade and provide the necessary rehab that people are looking for.
Great, thank you for that, Martin. If I can come to you next, Siobhan and Marie-Claire, as we come to, you know, towards the end of our discussion, your big priority.
We take our standards and our operations very seriously, in so much that we now have a solicitor as an operations manager in the company, and she's been invaluable. And we have weekly meetings about all our clients. And, you know, it's as I said earlier, the CPD and the standards are very important, and continuous support for maybe a member of staff that's having a particularly difficult family. And we have crisis management that we have to handle, and we have to give support to each other when these things happen. For example, one of our families went to Brazil for Christmas, and their daughter requires 24-hour care. There was nobody to do it on Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, and another day over the Christmas period. So I had to get in a second agency and visit that family where Mum wasn't there on Stephen's Day to ensure the standards were maintained. That's how seriously we take our role of case management. Thank you.
Great, thanks Siobhan, Marie-Claire. Emma, same question to you. If there's one big priority.
That is a very difficult thing to say, one priority, when it's such a huge key role. But I think I just try to encourage everybody that works with me to be inspired and be outstanding to all. This is such a privileged position as a case manager. It's the client's one chance to obtain the right funds and to achieve the very most from their new life going forward. And if you do the very best for them and for the litigation team, importantly, then you'll be doing the best for the case management industry.
That's a fabulous message, Emma. Thank you. And Carol, it looks as though you've got the final word on this.
Yeah.
So for you, the big priority
is accountability and maintaining that therapeutic relationship with your client. If you've got a therapeutic relationship, you're going in the right direction, as opposed to a friendship. And be accountable to everybody at the table, which I think transfers across all case management practice, not just litigation case management, but be it in mental health or prison services or wherever. Not to be scared to be accountable and to be able to justify what you're doing.
Great, thanks, Carol. Well, on behalf of NR Times, I'd just like to thank all of our panelists. It's been a fascinating discussion, and one where I think there's a unanimity of purpose and direction in terms of the way forward for case management and how to ensure it has even greater impact and reach. For all those that are watching this discussion, please share it as widely as possible. It really deserves to be seen by the widest possible audience. I'm sure that some of the strands that we've covered today will come back and discuss at greater length and in more detail in the future. But in the meantime, once again, thank you for everybody that's watching this discussion and sharing it. And a big thank you to our talented panel for being so generous with their time and their experience and their opinions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you.